Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Apecoin, see what's going on. Of course, got a lot of requests, and I mentioned I try to cover this more regularly, so apologize for taking the day off yesterday. I wasn't really available to make some content, but today, of course, trying to get caught up on a few requests. So thanks again to my community members, my supporters, subscribers, everyone for asking that I cover this. I greatly appreciate that. Taking a look, of course, at Apecoin. Just before we do, I need to know, are you a financial advisor? Because I'm not. All right, so keep in mind, this is just for educational purposes only. I hope you can learn something here today. I've been trading for a very long time, and I hope you can learn and grow as a trader. That's the whole point of the community that I have, my trading academy, signal group, as well as the community. It's a really cool, awesome experience. So be sure to check that out in your own time. CryptoCache.tech is the link. That being said, take a look here at Apecoin. Big picture, pretty straightforward here. We had a pretty significant sell-off yesterday. Nice, strong red day. Bear in mind, Bitcoin was selling off pretty hard as well as the fact that we were very overextended here. I mean, we went way outside the standard deviation lines, and I can tell you that at this point, we're lucky to have had a nice bounce off that previous resistance level, the new support. So roughly about 1965 is approximately the price kind of bounced. Yes, it came down lower to 1827, but you can see a lot of resistance here at this level, right? A lot of averaging out. In fact, if we look at the volume, we can probably see there's a decent amount up there. Actually, not as much as I was expecting. There's a tremendous amount of volume, however, at 1675. Okay, so we do need to build a little bit more volume at this point. So what that kind of tells us is with the lack of volume in this area, albeit we've only been up here in this area for 3 trading days, there's a larger accumulation at about the 1930 range, but we still need more volume to reaffirm that support. Okay, so again, we're not like, it's not never going to go down, but on the same accord, we're building a stronger foundation at that point, and that was a key level resistance for 3 days. Now it should work as a support, and it has for the last 3 days, if you kind of consider it that way. All right, anyways, just some thoughts there. Taking a look at the 1 day, we can see we're back down under 70, which is nice. It actually kind of needed this, because when we come up over 70, as you could see previously, it can only maintain that price point for so long, especially with Bitcoin being as lackluster as we'd want it to be. Keep in mind, Apecoin, if and when Bitcoin decides it wants to do very well for itself, I think Apecoin's going to take off. But between now and then, we're going to see some of these peaks and valleys when it rallies. And then, of course, the Bitcoin dominance recedes because Bitcoin is selling off and the Apecoin increases. But eventually, there's a point where, the whales got to take their profits, right? They're going to collect that income based on the simple fact that it's overextended, and a lot of folks are in at a higher price point. Regardless, the 1 day still looks good. There's nothing here I see that's necessarily adverse. We're also still maintaining this trend line, believe it or not, until this 1 day candlestick closes. If we can get a close above, just say $20.26, which is our 0.786 on our Fibonacci, we'll be in pretty good shape to be able to see this continuation of the upside. It could very well and should very well continue. Now keep in mind, it is slightly overextended, of course, from the last couple of days. But if we look at the RSI, we can see it's relaxed enough to have another leg up if it needs to. Okay, so again, very good stuff here from Apecoin, but I would just expect it to be pretty volatile in the sense of the fact that we have a tremendous amount of volume. We had a profit-taking day yesterday, which makes perfect sense. And again, even today too, where the price came up and came right back down. But I would recommend paying attention to Bitcoin because it is influencing this, right? So most of these sell-offs, these sharp decreases, are also decreases from Bitcoin when it passes a specific threshold. And right now we're testing 38,200, and it's likely for Bitcoin to continue to progress lower. So in general, right now we're expecting shorts to continue to grow and to get more leverage to the downside. And I would say that Apecoin could reflect that similar behavior. But again, it's doing pretty well, even though this is not really the healthiest kind of increase or decrease. I don't like to see that amount of volatility, but the amount of volume is really helping it keep this price point at a higher average. So its average true range is slowly increasing, and that's working up with the trend line. All good stuff. Speaking of trend line, let's see if we got the 50-day SMA, which is per usual, working as a support level here, concurrent with the trend line. So, one of these two things is going to keep the price action in place. It's a great sign. So all in all, again, all signs point upwards still, but we can expect some choppy behavior based on Bitcoin's recent volatility. But just keep in mind, if Bitcoin does drop below 37.7, it's a key level of support for Bitcoin. We should expect to see Apecoin drop as well. I wouldn't say phenomenal, but we could very well see a pretty strong correction and then a leg back up. So if you see Apecoin come shooting down, the probability of it coming back up is very high, but there is a likelihood of it coming down based on the simple fact that it's having these knee-jerk reactions every time Bitcoin cracks itself. All right, so again, it's important to identify the correlation between Bitcoins and altcoins, or Bitcoin and altcoins, because there's this cohesion that occurs, or there's also a separation. Apecoin's been separated from Bitcoin for the most part, but it is still susceptible to these strong sell-offs. And that's because this is a profitable coin in the industry where there's not a lot of coins out there. And you take a look at this list here, very few coins are in green right now. The only ones in green is Apecoin and a small handful of other coins. Okay, so generally speaking, it's looking pretty darn good in that sense. It still has some overall strength, but on the 4 hour, we can see we're kind of losing that momentum a little bit, which is perfectly fine. We're on a type of bearish type of divergence for the moment, and that's just the last 12 hours of continuation of the downside. So if we can continue to maintain 50 on the RSI, I think we'll be just fine. That is very synonymous with $20.34. I would say a round number is $20 is probably a good number to watch for. We get a break below $20 again, we want to reanalyze. But if you take a look here, we are technically making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, minus this correction here, we're generally speaking moving in an upward direction still. Okay. Albeit not as clean as you would like, but we'll see what happens, of course. It's still early in the trading day. Take a look at the 4 hour, correction, the 1 hour. We're going to take a quick peek at TD sequential. We came up to a 9, got a reset, now we're down to a 5. So there is potential for another 4 more hours of downside before the price reverses. Now that's not a guarantee, of course, but it does tend to happen a lot when you see a 9 come to fruition. But what that basically just means is as long as this next low isn't lower than 1875, right in that range, then we're probably likely going to expect to see an increase. Okay. So again, all good stuff there in that sense. One last thing to take a look at is the cloud. We are below the cloud currently. And with all this choppy behavior, the cloud doesn't matter too much because there's a lot of profit taking and a significant amount of buyback. But in general, here at this point, if we look at it, we're under the cloud and it's not advantageous in that sense. In other words, not telling you to open a short position, but but there's no confirmation for a long either, if that makes sense. The confirmation we do have is this ascending trend that's continuing to occur and happen if you exclude this little part here where the price came down for a few hours. Okay, so generally speaking, we're making higher highs and higher lows on the 4 hour. We are essentially looking very good on the macro on the larger time frames. The only thing I see here is that we have this indecision, so to speak, this very large range between $18 and $25 where the price is just hanging out. So it's going to take a little bit more time and more volume to accumulate this price point. Let's see how those ascending trend lines continue to occur. If we can stay over the 50-day SMA on the 4 hour, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape here to see this continuation continue. But I wouldn't expect the price to shoot straight up from here just based on the overall sentiment of how Bitcoin is performing. A one-day candlestick close today, again, above, just say $20 would be a positive thing here today. I'd like to see a close above 20. Also to kind of try to avoid a gravestone type of pattern. So if you're not familiar, if you see like a candlestick that looks like that, that's a gravestone. If this were to come back down and close closer to its open, it shows that there is a lot of a loss of strength in the upward direction or the direction it was heading, and could be a reversal soon. So let's pay attention to how this candlestick closes too, because that's going to be interesting. All right, we'll take another look at this here again tomorrow. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you learned something here today, of course, and you want to learn a lot more and become a better trader. CryptoCache.tech is the site. Link in the description below. I do look forward to working with you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time.